welcome back to the Jardin. We are here again this week for another podcast episode, and we kind of record a few ahead, but I just wanted to. We just put out the last one about our story, and just kind of wanted to thank everyone for the
sweet
messages and encouragement and telling us,
because I was worried about it.
Yeah, we were really nervous about that episode.
Yeah, that's a better word, nervous.
Yeah.
Instead of worried.
Because it's just such a sensitive topic, I feel like. But
nobody, it's like we've talked in previous ones, nobody ever wants to talk about the bad.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about just the good.
Yeah, and I think if you know us in person, we're not very open people. Like,
I promise you, everybody
private
that knows
people.
Me
yeah.
isn't going to be like, yeah, Brad, don't talk.
Yeah, so for us to open up and share all this is definitely God God using us to, because we wouldn't just do that on our own, is what I'm saying. Like, it's definitely a calling to share this stuff, I feel like, because that's not our character. I think
it's just been something that's been laid heavy on our hearts to, tell.
Because I feel like everybody goes through these things, and just being open and vulnerable to share those experiences can help someone else. So just want to say thanks to everyone for all the kind words they have shared since we put that episode out. And then we'll go to our Rose and Thorn. So you can go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one do you want me to go first with, the rose or the thorn?
You can start with your thorn and then end on the happy note.
All right, I'll do that. All right, so my thorn for this past week, my wife already knows pretty much the whole story, but me and my daddy was working on the farm. We was hauling chicken litter, and so I went to a field and was spreading litter. For people that don't know what that is for, that's to make the grass grow. It's fertilizer. Mm-hmm. So I was doing that, and I was on my way back to the farm with the truck, and then it got overheated, and so it was about to shut down. So I pulled over on the side of the road. One thing led to another. I'm broke down then. Chicken litter stinks, so nobody wanted to stop and check, see if I needed any help. So here I am stranded on the side of the road. Sitting here and wondering what am I gonna do, and I'm like, man, I really don't want to have to call my daddy and tell him I'm broke down in his truck, and I didn't want him to be frustrated about it, but at the same time I'm like, well, he is the one that I need to call because he'll come help me, and you can kind of use that in your relationship with God, like some things that you do, you're like, yeah, I know God's going to frown on this, but you still need to go to him and tell him. And, so I think that's why you hear so much as your heavenly Father, because he's referenced to just like a father here on earth. Yeah. So anyways, I was broke down on the side of the road. Everybody goes past me. Nobody stops. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, well, I can't do nothing else, so I sit there and pray about it, hoping that the truck will crank, and I'm like, all right, I'll try it one more time. It won't crank. So I had to just sit there until I finally saw my daddy coming. Yeah. He pulls up. He's not mad. We get out. We get it all situated. We get it back running. Get it back up here to the farm. We're like, okay, well, we got to clean the radiator out. We got to do this. So that shut us down for the rest of that evening, which was almost the end of the day. But we got it all clean, situated, so it was good to go for the next day. And, it was just, like, I was sitting there during that time, though, like, sitting there praying that it would crank, and it wouldn't and stuff. And I was just frustrated that it wasn't working. And I was like, this could go one of two ways. You could either get mad
upset about it
and sit here and just, be just boiling over it. or you could just stop and just try to just sit back and try to find a positive in something. So I'm sitting there. As I'm sitting there, I'm frustrated, but I'm sitting here contemplating about being mad, trying to find a positive. By that time, I hear a turkey gobble out the window. I said, I ain't believing this. I'm stranded on the side of the road where there ain't no turkeys in this part of the world, is what I think. And I'm a big, avid turkey hunter. So whenever I hear that turkey, like my mind shifts completely off of the truck. And I'm sitting here thinking about a turkey. And now I hear it gobble 2 more times. And I'm like, so I'm focused on that at that point. And
Took
I'm like,
your mind off of it.
all right, Brad, you got to get back to the topic here. We got to try to fix the truck, and then my daddy pulls up. We'll get the truck seen about. So that was my thorn. My rose is I killed a turkey this week, which was not related with the same one. It was in a different area. But get set up, and the bird that I'm trying to kill, it's he's gobbling good, but it's another one that hasn't gobbled yet, comes out of nowhere, and that bird made me work him for probably 40 to 45 minutes before I finally got him close enough. And during that time, whenever I'm fixing to pull the trigger, I look down, and there's a red wasp sitting on my gun right where you eject the shell out. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm fixing to get stung by this wasp, and I've got a turkey in range right now. And so I try to thump it off, and when I thump it off, it lands in my lap. And I'm like, man, this is fixing to be even worse. Like, this is going to be even more painful. So I sit there and I wait until the turkey goes into full strut again, where his tail fan goes all the way out. And as soon as he turns around where I can't see his head, I move the wasp out of my lap. Luckily, it was a cold morning, so the wasp was not really active. So as soon as I get him out of my lap, I get situated, I make the shot. I'm all excited. And that was my rose. And then whenever I ran out there to my turkey and I turned around to look, the sun was just starting to come up, and it was cool morning. And so like whenever I turned around, and I always do, whenever I kill a turkey, I always turn around, and I don't know why I do it, but I always turn around and look back to where I was sitting at. And whenever I turn around and look back to where I was sitting at, you could still see like the smoke lingering in the air from where I just had shot. And you could see the sun starting to come up, cutting through the fog. And it was just, a beautiful moment right then. If you're a hunter, like you would understand, you'd get that true beauty. And, there's a lot of times before I go out there to turkey hunt, or as soon as I sit down up against a tree, I'll sit there and I'll thank God for letting me be able to see the sun come up one more time, be able to do turkey hunting one more time, something that I love to do. And I'm like, thank you, God, for letting me be able to do this one more time. And, it's because you're not guaranteed tomorrow, So it's like you really need to take in everything. Always try to find a positive in everything, even if something's going wrong. Just like I was trying to do with my thorn that I just talked about, trying to find a positive. But I stayed on that, I guess, a little too long. But that was my thorn and rose. I'll let Julia go ahead and tell you hers.
Mine are all, I've thought of like a few different ones, but mine are all kind of like rose and thorn. Mine always seem to kind of go together. But first one is that.
Hold on, I got to stop you right here. But they got to know that I don't know your rose and thorn every week.
No, we don't.
And
talk
you
about
don't know
it
my rose and thorn till we're sitting here recording.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why I'm sitting here, like anxious to see, like, what's your rose? What's your thorn? Just like they're waiting to hear us too. I just had to say that.
Yeah. But mine, I think I have like 3 different ones, and they're all short. But one was that our oldest, Adela, has never cut her hair. And she kept telling me, I kept asking her, like, let's cut your hair, get your hair cut. No, I'm going to be Rapunzel. I'm never cutting my hair and all this. So finally she has decided that she wants to cut her hair since I have chopped mine. And so she wouldn't let my hair lady do it. She's like, I want you to do it. So then the other day, she was like, please, let's play hair salon, and you cut my hair for real. So we tied her little bitty baby curl that was still there up, and I got the scissors and cut it. So that was like a happy and sad rose and thorn all in one, because I was like, okay, it's time to cut the hair.
Yeah.
And then, but it was kind of sad, and I even held it up. She has like a little silhouette portrait in her bedroom, and I was like, see that little curl that you had? Like, it's from when she was like 2 years old. And I was like, see that little curl? And I held the hair up to it, and it was literally like the same as it was in the picture, and that really got me. I was like, oh my gosh. So, but that was, and then, you know, also Adeline, like right now she's like standing up by herself, like right on the cusp of walking. And so that's also like a bittersweet one that I know she's about to take her first step. And so that's exciting, but also like, oh, they're growing up, you know.
It's sweet though.
And then this is a funny one. This was like, it was so funny that it's became the rose because it's such a funny story. But it was a thorn in the moment because I was so scared. It was the other morning.
Oh, I know what you're going to tell now.
It was the other morning. We are co-sleepers. And so we all sleep in one bed together a lot. But most nights I moved to another bedroom with Adeline. And so that night I woke up, I think Adeline only woke up like one time that night. So I just nursed her back in our bed. And she went to sleep. And so when I woke up that morning, we were still in, you know, our bedroom. And and Brad wasn't in the bed, so I'm like, he's already gone to work. So, you know, we're just like,
yeah, because that's
in
how
the
it
bed.
is.
Yeah, that's how it normally is. Like, Brad's already gone before we
ever.
wake up. And so then we're just like in the bed watching. We put on some little show, and then I'm like, oh, Della, you want me to go make you some breakfast? And she's like, yeah, make me some toast. So I come in here and make the toast, and then I come back and I ask Stella, I'm like, why don't you come eat your toast in here? Let's move in the living room. So I'm walking in the bedroom, and then I hear behind me Brad's voice. He says, why haven't y'all came and woke me up? And I'm like,
because I always wake up before y'all.
I didn't even know you were here.
I always wake y'all.
Yes.
Like, always am going way before
but
y'all.
But it's like
wake
on
up.
the other side of the
My
house.
alarm didn't go off.
I hadn't even been
that
over
morning.
there. Brad's alarm didn't go off, and he moved to the other bed during the night, and I didn't know that. So it was just like so funny that you were like,
I overslept bad. Like I slept way too late.
was...
I slept all the way to 7 o'clock, and then I was like, oh my gosh! Like as soon as I opened my eyes, like I saw it was daylight outside,
but I was just
and I
like,
knew
what
then.
in the world? Why do I hear his voice? And then I turn around and he's coming out of Della's bedroom. So that was a funny story this week.
Yeah, I knew as soon as I saw it was daylight outside that I was late.
Because
I always get up before the sun comes up, so it was kind of like that's how I know like I'm majorly late.
Yeah,
and
so
then I scared y'all.
Rose and thorns. Like it was a thorn in the moment because I was like it scared me to death because I didn't know he was here. But now looking back, it's pretty funny.
It wasn't funny then, not to me either, because I'm like, why wouldn't you wake me up? I'm late for work.
No idea you were here. But yeah, so those were funny. But we'll get into now that we've got that.
Now we got that
thorn,
done.
and I left my little notebook right there beside the camera. Okay, so I was thinking, I had a few different ideas for this week. I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go, but then I saw like a list that was like talking about characteristics of like a godly marriage and home. I thought that was a good topic to kind of go over because I think that's kind of the season that we're in right now is like, you know, raising kids, and I feel like a lot of people are in that same.
I've got something. I'll let you talk here in a little bit more, but talking about a godly home and raising kids, like I'm going to say something here in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and let you touch on your topic.
Yeah, there's just, I mean, we can just kind of go over the list and then talk about
Okay.
each one. The first one is serving the Lord, lots of different ways you can do that. The first one that comes to my mind is just like that we're doing is raising them in church, and I feel like that's a really big one.
And try to explain to your kids,
like we go to church on Sundays, and that's like
kind of like living on a farm, like as bad as you hate, like for an animal to die, it's gonna happen. So then Della is our oldest, so she asks questions. She's like, so what does that mean? So then you have to explain heaven.
yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to explain to your child already.
Kitten. We talked about that.
That's my whole point. It can be like a kitten, a goat, a cow. Like it can be something, a dog. And so you explain to her, and then but she has not figured out. Like she's like, okay, well I want to go to heaven and see them. And I'm like, well you can't go yet.
Yeah.
Like it's not that simple.
But I think taking them to church is a good way to.
And while we're on
show
that
them how
topic,
to
I'm going to say what I was going to say earlier. But, it was like we was at church, and at the end of service, you have a time to go to the altar. And so, I felt led to go to the altar. So I was down there at the altar praying. And then whenever I opened my eyes to stand up, I saw my little girl laying there on the step beside me with her head right there next to my leg. And at that moment, I knew. I was like, I'm doing something right. Like, I'm raising my child the best way that I know how, to where, she knows what, like, she's already understanding. And so it was like, it really made me proud in that moment of a daddy, like, seeing my child beside me in an altar, at such an early age. And I was like, and then that was the first thing I saw. And then whenever I looked, I saw my wife right beside her too. And I was like, so you talking about a godly marriage? I'm like, here I am. Feel like I'm doing the right thing with my kids, and then I've got my wife beside me supporting me. And
that goes into this one, lead by example. I feel like that was a good example of that too. It's like, if you're not showing them that, then who is?
The world's always ready to show.
You don't want the world to influence.
No, the world can influence in such a bad way.
So many ways.
And no matter how hard a parent tries, from what I've already seen, and of me also growing up, the world is always there with open arms, ready to snatch you up. And so, like, that's why I think it's so important now to be an example and to really try to instill in your kids, God, church, heaven, like the right things, right and wrong, because I honestly feel like now, from just since I was, say, 15, 16 years old,
were little, it's changed
it's like
much.
It was a whole different lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. One is Christ is your foundation. So I think if you have that foundation there in your marriage, even before you have kids, you have that foundation that Christ is that, then you build on that. And
that's like what Brother Chris was talking about this morning. Foundation. Even if you every day, he was saying, like, every day you're not going to be just like the foundation, but you at least have the foundation to know where to go back to. So it's like, that's, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you always have that to go back to.
Yeah, you got to have a foundation of some sort.
Yeah. And then to show love and grace, I feel like that's really important. Because sometimes it's not easy showing grace.
No, it's not. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like guys have a harder time with showing grace.
Yeah.
Especially if they're very self-driven type people. I feel like it's hard for them to show grace as easy
Yeah.
because they just expect stuff to
Yeah.
be
And like I
done.
want, Dell and Adeline to like
And the
see how,
kids have taught me
yeah,
about grace because it's
grace.
like, okay, well, why is the dishes not washed? Well, the kids were this
Yeah.
today, and it's like, okay. So then it's like, I'll wash the dishes, I'll take care of them. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm talking about, like, kids have shown me, like,
Grace.
have grace for
Yeah.
your wife sometimes.
Yeah, because you don't know what happened during the day.
But it's the
And
same
then
ways can go, like,
yeah, same with you. We
Yeah.
don't know what happened at work, and I think you just have to show
It's
that
kind of like
grace.
where I
the
talked
grace
about,
that you want, show that to your spouse and give it back.
yeah, it's kind of like, you remember in the previous ones where I talked about, hang your problems up on the tree before you come
Yeah.
inside. It's like that. Like, I don't know what's
What?
went on in the house with the kids during the day because I've been at work. So
Yeah.
it's like, you
The
got to
same
show a little
way.
grace there. And it's the same way. She don't know, like, what I had going on with work that day. So just go ahead and automatically show grace to me whenever I walk in the door. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's why it should be that way.
Yeah.
But that's easier said than done.
It is.
I mean,
It's
I'll
a
just
lot
be
easier
truthful.
said
It's
than
not
done.
every day I'm going to walk in the
Yeah,
house and
no.
I'm going to show grace the moment I walk
Yeah.
inside,
But if
because
you just
I'm
think
human.
of the way Christ shows us grace, then you try to give that same
All you can do is pray.
that same grace to especially your spouse and your
I know,
kids.
but
I'm just saying
I'm not
that
perfect, and if you're
nobody's
truthful, you'll know
perfect.
that you
That's
can
what I'm
tell
saying.
them like
We're
I'm not.
I'm not saying we're experts at it, but I'm just saying that if you
No.
have that, if you look at how he does it for you, it's easier to emulate that
Yeah.
and be like, wow, he gives me that much grace. I could give a little,
He gives way more
That's
than
what
what
I'm
we
saying.
deserve.
He gives way more, so we could give each other a little. And I think about that, like even people like that you see, randomly. You just think you don't know what the other person's going through. Like a person at the grocery store, anybody, you just don't know.
And I'll catch myself sometimes.
And
It
everybody's
ain't
going
necessarily
through something.
who I'm around or whatever. I'm like, well, you know what? Everybody's got battles they fighting in the head.
Everybody.
Like you don't know what that person's dealing with right now. Don't be so quick to judge.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people where they'll be like, oh, did you see so and so doing whatever? And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
do you know their story?
Yeah.
I'm like, they might be going through something. Instead of sitting there judging them, why not try to talk to them? See if you can help them in any way. See if you can offer a helping hand to them instead of judging like that. But that's something that I've seen where a lot of people they're so willing to just talk about somebody that's failing or falling, instead of willing to try to offer them and say, hey, can I help you in some way? I got to listen in here. I don't know what to tell you or anything to help you, but, I'm here if you need me, and I feel like that's something like guys need to like really check in on their buddies a little bit more, like, like kind of be like, hey, just checking in on you. Hadn't heard from you all week. How you doing? Everything good? How's family? But that's the thing about what I'm trying to tell in this podcast is that guys will say, "Oh, we good?
Yeah.
I'm fine. Everything's going great," because guys don't want to tell about their problems. They don't think nobody wants to hear it. But you've heard in my previous ones of what that will get you by not talking about it and bottling it up.
Yeah, and I think that's showing love too. Like you just show.
I think if you care about somebody,
that you love and
even
care about them.
Even if it's some random person, like, sometimes it can just be laid on your heart where like like, hey, they going through something. I think they may be, may not be, but you can still be nice. Hold a door for them or something that may change their whole day around for them.
Yeah. And the last point in the godly home was which we've touched on since I said we're in the season of raising kids, so it's raise your children in the faith.
Yep.
And that's something that I feel like is really important, and something we're really trying to focus on is raising them, like,
I agree with you.
in that, and even like prayers, saying prayers, and
That's something that's really made me proud.
yeah,
She always used to just say, "Thank you for my food,"
she'd say, "God, thank you for this food, Amen."
Yep.
And now she's like trying to make it longer.
So she'll say, "God," and she'll hold her little hands together and she'll say, "God, thank you for this food. Bless this food, Amen."
Yeah.
So
she's
she'll
like,
extend it. She'll extend it just little by little all along, and I'm like, she's starting to see like there's not just one simple thing, and and I'll let her say the blessings a lot of time. She'll be, "No, Dad, I want to say the blessing." I'm like, "Okay, you say it," and I'm like, "You know what? I bet you God hears these words right here more than some other ones. Like it's just." From a child, like she already sees like that, that it really makes me happy seeing it. And I'll just sit there and smile, whenever she wants to do that, and it just makes me happy. But like where I have my hands together just a second ago, I've caught myself be by myself or be with somebody else, like one of my buddies or something, and be sitting down to eat, and I'm like, "All right, let's say blessing," and I'll put my hands together like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I can't break that habit right now," because that's how we try to train my little girl to pray, is put her hands together. I wanted her to hold our hands, but she wouldn't do that. She's like, "No, you give me my hands back." Like I want, and so putting her hands together was the best we could do with getting her to do that.
I think I need to be better at it. I go through little phases where I'm good at it, and then it gets busy and I forget. But I also try to do like a little morning devotional with her, and it's just like a little children's one, so it just teaches them, like, it's like a short little story about a kid, so they kind of get interested in it.
That's why I feel like
it teaches them something.
All right, I've got something right here. It's about power couple, like what my mindset used to be on a power couple versus now.
Yeah,
and
I was thinking about that today in Sunday school.
Because like used to, in my mind, a power couple is somebody that the man was successful in a job, the woman was successful in a job. They made a lot of money. They was able to really conquer all kind of things. They could have the big house, the fanciest cars, have all this stuff. They was thriving. They could go on any trip they wanted because they was both making way more money than the average couple. Yeah. That's what I used to think a power couple was. And then my mind shifted not too awful long ago to where I'm like, that's not a power couple. Yeah. It's nothing wrong with being successful, but that's not a power couple. A power couple is one like what you're talking about right here. You need to have a good spouse that's grounded in God, each way, and you need to be raising your family in a certain way, trusting and having faith in God. And but it's not just that. It's you don't have to have all kind of fancy things
to all that stuff in the world, but you're
still not
going to be happy, because that happiness doesn't come from that.
And like one of our previous episodes of where, like, one of my roses was where I was like, we're sitting on the back porch, and Della was sitting there roasting a marshmallow, and I was like, that was just amazing to see. And I'm like, this is power couple move. We're making our kids happy, by doing something so simple.
And it's not.
And I'm like, that's like you can't
like that. Like they're in a loving home.
That's where you're creating a power couple, powerhouse. Yeah. That's what I think of. That's a powerhouse. Yeah. Whenever you got that going on, you got God up front leading it. You don't mean you ain't gonna have problems. You ain't gonna have hiccups and bumps in the road.
Oh yeah.
But you always gonna cross the finish line at the end.
And that's the other. That goes back to that, like having that foundation.
Like, you better have a foundation.
If you have that, then things can happen. You go back to that and.
Because, you can think, oh, I got it all going on right. And, it can just be one small thing.
Yeah.
Tip the scales the wrong way in a little bit. And, if you don't have that strong foundation, everything can crumble. Yeah. And it's like, y'all have heard my story of how it crumbled me. Yeah. And it was literally by the grace of God. And I really think I had enough of a foundation at that point that, yeah, everything might have caved in, but the
You
bottom
still
of the
had
foundation was still there,
rock bottom
enough to where I
was,
couldn't go
yeah.
on through. And I remember from one of the preachers in the past, pastors in the past that I've heard talk, and he's like, if you think you've hit rock bottom and then you start falling more, and he said, what you do is you tie a knot in the end of that rope when you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot into it, and you hold on for dear life until somebody can pull that rope, get you back out of that hole. And so, I think about stuff like that. And so, it really, I'm telling you, it's just by the grace of God that He can get you here. But that's why it's so important to have a foundation. If you don't build your foundation in the right spot, it's history.
Isn't there like a kid songs like The Wise Man? Or I mean, it's a part of the Bible. There's like a kid song too, The Wise Man. The foolish man built his house upon the sand.
Yeah.
And the wise man built
That's
his
what
upon the bricks.
Before you was fixing to tell that little story, I was fixing to say, you can go out there and build your house on sand.
Oh, yeah.
But if you build one on concrete, it's going to stay and be sturdy longer, you know. But that's why you hear about important. Foundation so much.
Yeah, so I think all those are really important things in serving Him and keeping Him as that foundation and leading by example, showing love and grace, and raising our kids in the faith.
I just want to have a happy life, happy family, Because
truly, that's all you get to take with you. Like, you're not going to take it's nice to have nice things. And
oh, yeah, it is. It's nice. And like...
But you're not going to take any of that with you.
I think this is where people mess up the most is
you get
how they
up
prioritize stuff. And it's like, you need to put God first, family next, and then, your church, and then let everything else take place after that. And it will all fall into order, of how it needs to fall into order. But if you don't have your God and family and church up front like that, and letting God lead your family and you in church, you might want to check up and see if you might want to rebuild that foundation.
Yeah.
It may not be built the way you think it should be.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's.
Yeah,
I think we went through
really
all the topics, but
good points, and I feel like it's so crucial in today's world, like we were saying earlier. With how much even adults and kids are influenced today, that it is important to have that.
It's really hard
home that
if you
is
just
God-centered to come home to when you're out in the world, and there's so much noise that you come home and
you're so easily distracted.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I think I've talked about it in past episodes of where, in today's world, everything's so fast-paced. Nobody has time to slow down. And I remember talking back to my mama one time, and my papa, whenever he was still alive, about, I said, I remember as a kid sitting out here on the carport, like we would dress a pig, and they always wanted to cook cracklings, and it was an all-day process. And I'm a little kid, about the same age as my little girl, oldest one, Della, right now. I was probably 4 years old. I wasn't in school yet.
Yeah.
And I remember then, like, whenever that was taking place, they'd make one phone call. Don't know who they was calling, but they'd make one phone call, and next thing you know, you'd have somebody pulling up. My granddaddy had this big old black pot out there that he'd be cooking cracklings in, and they had a refrigerator sitting on the carport with Cokes, and he'd tell everybody, come on up, sit down, eat you some cracklings, get you a Coke. And so, everybody had time for 45 minutes to an hour out of their day to stop by and talk, and this was all day long. So, I mean, there might be 15, 20 people total show up through the day. And so I just sat over there on the edge of the carport with my Coke and eating cracklings, just listening to all these stories, from all these people that I didn't know about. And I look, now that I'm older, and I look back at that, and I'm like, where has the time gone, like, to where
Nobody
nobody
has
has time to
do
stop?
that.
And so I'm like, all right, if everybody's so quick to just let go and not have time to go back to family members or to just people that you know in
Spend
your
time,
community and spend
quality
time with,
together, yeah.
then that kind of leads me to see, like, why our world is in the situation that it's in right now is because if we ain't even got time to go sit down with our family member, what makes you think that person's got time to go sit down and pray to God about?
Yeah.
You know? Like, if you ain't got time to sit down with somebody and talk, have a 10-minute conversation, they ain't got time to go sit down and talk to God. And I mean, I'm not perfect at all. Like, I'm at fault for that. I don't sit down and have a conversation with God every day either, you know. But that's something that, you know, I need to strive at being better at.
Yeah.
You know, like I can see it, you know. And
I think that's something we can all.
that's something that we really need. That really needs to be put back in the world. Is God needs to be put back up front.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that will help out tremendously on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But it
starts
I was
at
about to say, it
home.
all starts
That's
at
the
home.
purpose of this. Is it starts in your house, and that's how you're gonna.
Yeah.
It all goes back to there.
So just start at home.
Start at home and
Build a strong foundation.
Yeah, start your foundation at home
and have you a good church to go to.
Yeah.
I think that's what you need to start on.
Yeah.
If you ain't already. If you are, good job.
Yeah.
Proud of you. You know, wish you the best of luck.
Yes. That's it for today. So we'll see you next time.
See you next time.